Welcome to Conspiracy Consensus. I'm John Lorton, and joining me as always is
Christy Arnhart.
this is the show where Christy does the research looking into a conspiracy. She presents it here in front of a live stream audience. I try to take the other point of view, but sometimes it's hard because some of these things run close to my beliefs as well. We'll see how that winds up. Of course, at the end, we ask our live stream audience, is this really a conspiracy or not? And then we even phone in an expert to see if it really holds up. Christy, what are we talking about today?
Well, you know what? Before we get started here, let me.
Whoa. Hello.
That was not it. Here we go.
They're breaking through. I think the CIA just broke in.
Come on, here we go.
Oh.
We need the proper background.
Okay. Okay.
Today, we will discuss the Grand Canyon Egyptian cave cover-up. This is an archaeological find from 1909 when Egyptian artifacts, along with others, were found in the Grand Canyon. We are discussing this to help illustrate how the Smithsonian is able to narrate the historic record.
Hold on a second. I don't think I know anything about this. You're telling me that in 1909, in the Grand Canyon, they found Egyptian artifacts. I guess that could be possible if you had someone that took them from Egypt, because as far as I know, the Grand Canyon is not in Egypt.
It is not. But Australia is not in Egypt, and they found what they believe to be hieroglyphs there. And we have also found evidence here in the U.S. of people getting here long before Columbus, like we've all been taught to believe.
Interesting. So maybe there was...
It's very... Yeah, I mean, this one's one that has been with me my whole life, I think.
Okay.
Do you want a question?
Yeah, before we jump in, what's the question that we're going to put to the audience?
Do you believe the Smithsonian, the nation's attic, as it's called, narrates history? Do you know what's in your attic? Not all of it. Neither do they.
That's an interesting question. That's a Smithsonian, but I don't know that it's necessarily conspiracy-minded. We need to rewrite it so it's super obvious.
This is the historical record, the archaeological record, as to how we came about, how long we've been here, where we've traveled, everything.
So a conspiracy around this would be if they were intentionally lying about something or misrepresenting something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the question. Is there is part of whatever story you're going to tell us being misrepresented by the Smithsonian in particular?
Yes. I mean,
okay.
And you'll see before I'm done with this that the Smithsonian hides and does a lot of things people don't realize.
I'll widen it even more than that. Does the Smithsonian participate in conspiracies?
Okay. That works.
Yeah. Okay.
That works.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to obviously start off with this conspiracy, right? The Grand Canyon Egyptian cave cover-up. In 1908, President Teddy Roosevelt wanted to declare the Grand Canyon off limits, all timber and mining operations, because they would have gutted and destroyed. And we know Roosevelt saved so many parks and beautiful places in the United States that would not be here today if he hadn't. The Grand Canyon was one that he wanted to. It took him another 11 years before Congress designated the Grand Canyon as a national park. Before that time, sensing a last opportunity to go on an adventure, because back then you could more than you could today, explorer G.E. Kincaid took a boat down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon.
Is this G.E.?
Because that is Mr. Kincaid.
Okay.
You'll have to excuse me. I already have a cat hair in my lipstick.
Okay.
So on April 5th of 1909, a front page story ran in the Arizona Gazette, and it claimed that a Smithsonian-backed expedition had discovered a huge cave complex in the Grand Canyon. They found chambers containing mummies, hieroglyphs, and other artifacts of Egyptian origin. Now, the article specifically says, this article here, that a lone river traveler named G.E. Kincaid had found a great underground citadel, as he called it, several thousand feet above the Colorado River. He said the location was about 2,000 feet up the canyon wall, above the Colorado River, 42 miles upstream from the El Tovar Crystal Canyon. Now, this is the only place that I run into problems with all of this, is that there is no El Tovar Crystal Canyon as far as anyone can find or has access to. There's an El Tovar hotel that may be in the area, so obviously this name came from somewhere, but this is the only thing that I couldn't really pin down, was the location of this canyon.
Okay.
Now, he says that after he found this place and brought back evidence of it, he was joined by Professor S.A. Jordan from the Smithsonian in a Smithsonian-sponsored excavation. And it was so incredible what he says they found. Passageways, granaries, copper tools, statues, not just Egyptian seeming, but Buddhist in origin as well. There were mummies. I mean, he said this place was almost a mile underground. The entrance, of course, up high in the canyon, and then you travel down to the rest of the different parts of it. It was precisely carved in geometric patterns over an enormous area, and Kincaid reported that several hundred rooms had been discovered, but they had not discovered the full extent of what he called the city. It was just impossible to estimate how much was there. He also said that about 100 feet above the cave entrance, there's a room that contained carved idols, and he assumed that these were idols that people from this time worshipped, and he described them like this. He said the idol sits cross-legged with lotus flower or lily in each hand. The cast of the face is oriental, Asian, and the carving shows a skillful hand being remarkably well preserved. It resembled Buddha, and though scientists are unsure of its exact religious origins, it strongly reminded them of Tibet. So you not only have Egypt, but you have other cultures in this system as well. Now, I don't know enough about landmass movement and how it works, but I do know that there are people who made it to America, Australia, and countless other continents before we believe they did. Just obviously go past your high school and college education, because as far as I'm concerned, that's all flawed. They were there. I don't know how these could have gotten there, but I'm willing to bet it was through land bridges or islands that they were able to hop that are no longer there. Because these things are obviously thousands of years old. They weren't new. And they didn't fit exactly into the existing standard of Egypt and Tibet and Buddhism and all of the things that he saw, but he knew that that's where it was coming from. So it would suggest that it was even older than that. They took a huge team of archaeologists in there. But after the Smithsonian went in, you don't hear anything else about this. If you go and ask the Smithsonian today, they will state there are no records of this expedition or the people described in it. And they call it a hoax. They say that it is just an example of yellow journalism. And of course, yellow journalism are fantastic claims in headline, things like that. Mummies.
Yeah, and the time period is kind of, if I remember right, early 1900s it would still be, and especially like in the UK and stuff. I don't know about the US in particular, but yeah.
And I admit that happened. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
And whoa, how much fun. It's like having Weekly World magazine back again.
Right.
Now, the Smithsonian says that they don't know who Kincaid is, even though he said he had worked for the Smithsonian. All that I know about Kincaid is that he was a respected man. And his history says he was the first white child born in Idaho. So maybe just, I don't know, that feels a little racist to me. I don't know why, but that's what it says. And it says that he was an explorer all of his life. His words
well,
about
who's this
the
picture
entrance,
of then? Where does this, do we know where this picture comes from?
No, but this is the only picture that we ever have that's shown for it. Anytime you look up Kincaid online, this is what you get.
Gotcha. Okay. But this is a guy that's clearly seems to be in the service Like there should be records of whoever this guy is.
Well, and I would imagine that because back then, most everybody, when they became of age, went into the service for one reason or another. It's not quite like it was back then. You know, you can choose nowadays, but back then, I remember, especially during the 50s, during my granddad's time, no, there wasn't really a choice. You did it, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me at all. And you hear a lot about that in these adventurers, that they first started out in the military and they went to these exotic places and then went back to them later. Now, as far as the Citadel, as he calls it, he had this to say. He says, "First, I would impress that the cavern is nearly inaccessible now. The entrance is 1,486 feet down the sheer face of the canyon wall. It's on government land, and no visitor will be allowed under penalty of trespass. A trip there would be fruitless, and the visitor sent on his way." But what's amazing, and see this picture, this is what people believe the entrance up this cavern wall. They believe that that is the entrance to the cave that he was talking about.
Well, Graham Hancock definitely believes it.
Yes.
He's put his name to it.
Yes, he does.
So.
Yes, he does. But, you know, you can't get there even if you want to. They won't let drones fly. They won't let anything happen. But what kills me about this supposed hoax is that there are so many places in the Grand Canyon that you can go to today that are named after different places. You have the Temple of Isis, and I have a picture of that as well. The Temple of Isis, to a lot of people, looks pyramid shaped.
I don't know if I have that picture. Yeah, I don't know what this link is. Oh, this is supposed to be it. It looks like, but it didn't come up. Hold on. There's a V at the end of it. There it is. There it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Now, there is an account from some hikers who managed to make it close. And they say, finding the cave, they saw that there were different cave entrances that you could go into what they call the Temple of Isis. Each and every one of those were sealed by a man-made seal. It's over 40 miles from the one reported in the newspaper article. But at the same time, if we're dealing with cave systems, it would be connected conceivably. So I understand that they are trying to preserve heritage, archaeological places, artifacts, and they're trying to think about people's safety. But it just makes everyone even more suspicious. You know, the other geological formations they have are called Osiris, Isis, Shiva, and Horus temples, the Tower of Set, the pyramids of Ra and Cheops. They're all legendary Egyptian and Indian figures. And they are also all part of what is called the Forbidden Zone in the Grand Canyon. Nobody is allowed to travel there. If you want to go back, I'm almost done, I promise y'all. If you want to go back to the original indigenous people on the land, who do you have? You have the Hopi Indians. They say that their people once lived in an underground city underneath the Grand Canyon until a rivalry broke out between two factions. The good faction, or the people of one heart, were led outside to the above ground world by their chief, while the people of two hearts remained behind underground. They have cave drawings, they have a lot. You know, this is, I believe, a depiction of one of the ant people, is what they called them, that actually at one point led them underground to safety. There were people who already lived there. All of this reminds me so much of Kenny Beach and the M Cave for some reason.
That's weird. I've been thinking about that too.
Seriously?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you stop and think about it, there are places all over the world. In the United States, they say they have found, you know, all kinds of evidence that the Vikings made it here. If you go to Australia, you run into people who say that I have proof that these are Egyptian hieroglyphics in Australia. Now,
and this is on the History Channel. I mean, hey.
Of course, so it's got to be true, right? Yeah. It's not Ancient Aliens, so I'm not going to say anything. But, you know, it's telling that people all over the world seem to have these things. I don't know. So you get back to the Smithsonian, okay? This is our original argument here. It's one of the most respected institutions in the world. It preserves heritage, it conducts research, and it shares knowledge of art, history, science, and culture with the public. So there's no way they could lie to us, right? We know they have. If I'm bringing it up, they have. There are several examples of the Smithsonian lying to us. I have two here in particular that I figured I would show. The first one is very simple, okay? But think about the implications to this. They have the first airplane flown by the Wright brothers, the Kitty Hawk, in 1903, right?
Okay. Yeah.
First flight. It was not the first flight. The first flight actually happened in England 10 years before that. And it happened in front of a lot of witnesses and was verified. They did not bring this up because they wanted to bring more people into their museum. They wanted to make more money. They wanted to expand. So they called it the first flight. They put the Kitty Hawk up there. Everybody has to come see it, right? Well, they changed the historical record. That was not the first flight. So they, right there, gave their own little narration. And
that could have been an
eventually
episode.
the right...
That could be an episode in itself. I want to hear more about that. I don't know anything about any
Well,
debate.
and to be at the end, the Wright brothers actually took the Kitty Hawk out of the museum, refurbished it, and sent it to England to be in one of their museums. They got into an argument with the Smithsonian about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it did bring a ton of people to the museum, and you can pick up a quarter today that memorializes that flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's one more example. This one, it's newer. It happened in August of 2023. A Washington Post investigation recently revealed that the Smithsonian currently holds a collection of at least 30,700 body parts. They include 255 brains taken from people across the world. Smithsonian Secretary Lonnie Bunch III has apologized for the unethical manner in which the collection was amassed from people in countries such as the Philippines, Peru, Germany, and the US. And I'm reading this from CNN. They're the ones reporting on it. Most of the remains the Post found were collected in the early 1900s, and they sought to advance with all of this evidence that white people were superior to people of color. Yeah, many of these descendants and the tribes that they belonged to had no idea their ancestors' bodies were contained within the Smithsonian. Because 99% of what the Smithsonian has is hidden from public view. It's like the warehouse in Indiana Jones, and I know that's flip, but it's an apt example.
Okay. Well, a couple things I want to point out here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a beetle.
It's a beetle.
This is a beetle.
These are
these are artistic interpretations of something that actually exists in the world. So to me, for there to be two different artistic interpretations of the same object that resemble each other happening in different parts of the world is certainly possible. Like that's not super compelling. Like if you would have to get very specific, like there is hallmarks, there's that word again, hallmarks of the artwork on the right that are very unique. Like it almost looks like this beetle's wearing a crown. Like there's very detailed things that are happening here. If it was like this exact version that happened somewhere else in the world, like that would really, because it's artistic interpretation. At that point, you're going to think, okay, either that exact same artist came over here or someone saw this interpretation, copied it in some way, and then did that somewhere else. And that,
which to me is incredible.
Would be incredible, but this is too loose for me. Like these aren't a solid match.
Now,
and same thing.
I would chalk this up to, you have artisans in Egypt, you have different weather than Australia.
Yeah, I mean, but same thing here. Like, you know, and especially considering a time when we didn't have television and cell phones and all that stuff, like birds were probably fascinating to early man. Like to just watch them. Yeah, like I bet. I mean, we know that dreaming of birds, like that's why eventually we take flight. Like this is, I mean, look at the mechanisms that planes use. I mean, basically, it's the form of a bird. So, again, like this kind of appearing, I would need to see like the exact imprint happening somewhere else
See,
in a way.
I don't think you'll get that, only because I don't believe the artisans traveled here. I believe people traveled there, and they recreated what they could see to the best of their ability. But
Yeah.
that's all just my interpretation.
Yeah, well, and the thing that I am stuck on is, you know, because you'll even, that's why we have a patent system, because you can have two different people in two different parts of the country come up with the same idea, and the first one to actually get the patent gets it. So, you know, especially something like this. This is an interpretation of something that actually exists. The other stuff, yellow journalism, I just did a quick little search on it, and essentially it peaked in the US around this time frame. It was like 1895 to 1905. And essentially what you had was these companies that were becoming big, and they wanted to control a narrative that would sell more newspapers, or create a narrative that would sell more newspapers. So the possibility that, you know, they would kind of go the Weekly World News route and just be like, oh yeah, no, we found, these are Egyptian. These are clearly Egyptian, but they were found in the US. I think it's possible. The only last thing I have to note on that is in the Grand Canyon, you can actually rappel. And I don't know the specifics about rappelling in terms of like, is 1,000 feet too far or anything like that. I wouldn't think so, because I think you could rappel to other anchor points or create new anchor points. However, they have special routes, and you have to do, you know, you have to get permits, special permits to do all that. So if there was some type of, if there was a conspiracy around that, they would just control the issuing of permits for that particular area, and you wouldn't be able to touch it. So, okay, interesting. Well, we're going to put it to the audience. Does the Smithsonian participate in conspiracies? And honestly, rephrasing the question could have only helped you, because it sounds like that CNN article is recent,
Well,
and that's
I'm just
legit.
seriously. I mean,
is that when you
those were two
decided to email
examples.
me and tell me that you thought that today's case was pretty strong?
No, I knew, seriously, because I love that you can go to the Smithsonian. I love it in theory, but there is no doubt in my mind that they hide so much from us. And I have seen so many examples of different archaeologists all over the world. They're like, but what is this? And everyone's just like, seriously,
I think history, just like this artwork we were talking about, I think history is also an interpretation. Like, I don't think any history, how can a history book, unless it was written specifically only to note factualized events, like things that this many people traveled, this many people died, and what kind of history book would that be? No one would read that. And the type of like lore that we've created around important figures in our history, it's an interpretation. You know, like even if someone would write about themselves, that is still an interpretation. That's not necessarily actually factual, but I don't know. I get stuck on some of that stuff. Does the Smithsonian participate in conspiracies? Early on, there was a very strong trend where I thought you were going to pull it off with this episode, but we ended way closer. 53% say no, 47% say yes. And you know, when they say no, you got to watch this video.
All right, guys, the end times are coming. We'll raid it together, and I'll show you what's in there.
Get your rappelling gear. Christy's leading an expedition into the Grand Canyon.
Christy's going in.
That's right.
Vatican Archive after that. Let's do it.
Chris making a good point. There's too much glorification of nations. I think national pride does certainly influence history on many, many levels. But
well, yeah, because it's written by the winners.
It was a very close result indeed. And we appreciate you spending this time pulling it together. We need to ask the man, though. We've got to call in the expert.
Yep,
Agent
let's see what he
X.
says.
Yeah, let's see here.
Go for X.
X is Lorden.
Lorden, my man, just repelled out of a rogue petting zoo. Turns out the alpacas were running a sophisticated counterfeit operation. What's the conspiracy consensus cooking up today? And more importantly, is it tastier than alpaca wool?
I don't know if it is, but we're wondering
I'm willing to
if
bet.
the Smithsonian has its own conspiracies, or does the Smithsonian lie to the public about history?
Tell us about it.
The Smithsonian? Lying? Of course. I've got intel that'll make your dentures rattle. You see, I intercepted a carrier pigeon. Yes, they still use those, carrying a miniature scroll. It detailed how the Hope Diamond is actually a chunk of solidified dragon tears used to hypnotize tourists into donating their life savings. And the Wright brothers plane, please. It's a cleverly disguised weather balloon. The real plane is hidden in Area 51, powered by alien farts. So, what's the audience saying?
How?
Are they buying into the Smithsonian's sinister secrets? Or are they still sipping the Kool-Aid?
How?
I'm afraid they're still sipping the Kool-Aid, but let me ask you another question. Were the Wright brothers really the first to fly?
Those sheep? Well, some people can't handle the truth, I suppose. As for the Wright brothers, let's just say my sources, a network of highly trained squirrels, have confirmed that a team of time-traveling librarians actually invented flight centuries ago, but they had to keep it a secret to prevent paradoxes. The Wright brothers were just patsies. But enough about history's dirty laundry. Tell me, John, how's our favorite archivist, Christy? Is she close to deciphering the ancient Sumerian cat memes I slipped under her door last week? Tell her the pigeons are her
course.
eyes in the sky.
They're hilarious.
Absolutely, and she's about to rappel into the Grand Canyon to go searching for ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Christy, always one step ahead. Tell her that the scarab beetles carry the map, but beware of the sandworms. They're ticklish and prone to accidental hieroglyph erasure. Now I've got to make like a honey badger
Got it.
and disappear into a cloud of smoke. I'm off to infiltrate a mime convention. Turns out they're communicating top-secret government secrets through interpretive dance. Agent X, over and out.
Interpretive dance is the hinge of our world now, and we don't realize it.
It is. It is. At the center of every conspiracy is interpretive dance. I've learned that from Agent X for sure.
Gotta
Well-
take some classes.
Yeah, Christy, thank you so much for your hard work on today's episode. If people have ideas, where can they send them?
Well, you can contact me on X at Ghost of Christy, or you can email me, and I have one in the email right now I'm going to cover. Send it to paranormalpurse, PERS, at gmail.com.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us here. Please come back next week and we'll do it again on either Conspiracy Consensus or Paranormal Perspective. We'll see you
One
there.
of the two.
One of the two.